Welcome in, everyone, to another edition of Sports Talk Mania with Lee Haygood. I'm your host, Lee Haygood. Let's talk sports. It's Monday afternoon, July the 7th, 2014. Look forward to hearing from you this evening. We'll talk anything about sports. We'll even throw other things in there as well. All you wrestling fans, hey, I'm a wrestling fan as well. If you want to talk wrestling, we'll get some wrestling on Sports Talk Mania. Look forward to getting you a call. You can call us. Phone lines are open, 931-623-6090. That'll get you in touch with us here at Sports Talk Mania each and every Monday from the hours of 6 to 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. Few things going on in sports, kind of a lull period right now in sports. So that's the reason we've been picking our couple of teams each week from the SEC, giving you the Sports Talk Mania predictions on those teams coming up in the future for the 2014 college football season. And we look forward to talking to you each and every Monday about that. We'll throw those two more teams in today. Today we're going to be talking about the University of Florida Gators and the University of Georgia Bulldogs. And we'll get those predictions in here in a few minutes as well. Also, want to talk a little bit about Wimbledon today as well. A few other things coming up we're going to be talking about, and that's going to be both the ladies and the men's finals that finished up this past weekend at Wimbledon. We'll be talking about those things. We'll be talking about, again, the Florida Gators and the Georgia Bulldogs, giving you the predictions for the 2014 season upcoming. Also, talking a little bit about that World Cup still going on. Unfortunately, the United States of America is no longer in there. And guess what, college football fans? The college football countdown is on. We're only 52 days, 1 hour, 56 minutes, and 56 seconds away from college football 2014. I know a lot of you football fans out there tuning in each and every Monday with us. If you want to talk a little college football again, our phone lines are open here at the station. It's 931-623-6090. Give us a talk here on Sports Talk Mania. Look forward to talking to you today. Also, want to get in a few of our sponsors. We want to thank the Tennessee National Raceway. They'll be back in action this Saturday night. Took a week off this past Saturday night to allow all the families to get together with each other, the racing families and the regular family, the fans' families, all that. Allowed everyone to get together if they wanted to enjoy the 4th of July. Hope everyone had a safe and happy 4th of July. We look forward to seeing you and talking to you here at Sports Talk Mania each and every day. So always be safe, especially on these holidays. Want to thank all of our veterans as always here on Sports Talk Mania. We thank our past and present veterans as well. We thank you for giving us the freedoms to have things like Sports Talk Mania. Again, look forward to talking to you today. It's Monday, July the 7th, 2014. We look forward to talking to you. Right now, I want to get another sponsor in, and we're going to talk about Big Fred Show. Big Fred Show live each and every Thursday evening at 7 o'clock. You never know where Big Fred Show is going to be located at, as they pick a different place or try to pick a few different places each and every week to go to. That's the Big Fred Show on Thursday evenings at 7 o'clock. You can check it out on MustangsTV.com to see where the Big Fred Show is going to be next. We're going to get a word in from Big Fred right now, and we'll be back right after this. Again, phone lines are open. Give us a call, 931-623-6090.
Hey, y'all. Thank y'all for listening to my brother Lee on Sports Talk Mania with Lee Haygood. Be sure to also tune in on Thursday nights at 7 o'clock for the Big Fred Show. Me and Lee and Mustangs TV, we the Total Bro Network, baby. Tune in and listen to us.
The Tennessee National Raceway, where dirt track racing is at its best. That's the Tennessee National Raceway, 316 Racetrack Road, Hohenwald, Tennessee. Come out each and every Saturday night during racing season, ladies and gentlemen, and see some of the best dirt track racing anywhere around this area. That's the Tennessee National Raceway, 316 Racetrack Road, Hohenwald, Tennessee. Welcome back again to Sports Talk Mania. I look forward to talking to you this Monday. Ladies and gentlemen, I know that you're out there listening to us and on Mustangs TV and Sports Talk Mania. Give us a call. We love to talk to each and every one of you each and every Monday from the hours of 6 to 7 p.m. We're here for that reason, to get this day. Monday is over with for most of us at work, and let's get the rest of this week started right. We're going to talk sports, and we're going to talk a lot of it in an hour's time. We got several minutes left as we've just started this show. Give us a call, 931-623-6090. Love to talk to you a little bit about some sports. Let's start talking some sports today on Sports Talk Mania. How about the Wimbledon? The Wimbledon just ended this past week at, of course, at the All England Club in England, and that's where the Wimbledon takes place each and every year. And you want to talk about some tennis. Whether you like tennis or not, most of us will tune in to the Wimbledon just because of the grass courts and to see what's going on at the Wimbledon. And with that being said, we've got new champions at Wimbledon. This past season, we've got just this past weekend, Novak Djokovic. He had a late rally and overcome a late rally by Roger Federer to win his second Wimbledon title. He won this past weekend over Roger Federer, who's one of the best tennis players there is. Of course, Novak Djokovic making his stand as well. So those guys are usually 1 and 2 in the rankings of men's tennis. And Novak Djokovic defeated Roger Federer by a score of 6-7, 6-4, 7-6, 5-7, 6-4. Federer came back from a 2-5 deficit in the fourth set to get it back up to a 5-7 loss. So Federer was playing his heart out. However, Novak Djokovic coming into Wimbledon, as I think he was coming in as the favorite, ended up taking it from Roger Federer. Federer, of course, getting a little bit of age on him, like most of us do, and that's a good thing. You always want to get older. That beats the alternative, I say. So Federer getting a little bit of age on him. The legs getting a little weaker. I think he actually cramped up a little bit in one of the final sets there, and I don't see how those guys do it as well as they do, but still, these guys played their hearts out. Congratulations to Novak Djokovic from us all here at Sports Talk Mania. And in the ladies' side, we had Eugenie Bouchard and Petra Kvitova from Czechoslovakia. Petra Kvitova defeated Eugenie Bouchard by a score of 6-3, 6-0. I think it was one of those matches that most people thought that Kvitova was going to win that one just based off of how she had been playing through the whole tournament at Wimbledon. So that was one of those that was just kind of you kind of got bored watching that one. And tennis being, to me, watching it on TV, a little bit of a boring sport anyway. However, like I say, I enjoy watching Wimbledon. I like watching them slide across those grass courts there at the All England Club. If you like tennis at all, or just want to watch any kind of sports, the Wimbledon is the actual tournament to watch. And unfortunately, not an American in it as far as winning it this year. But we still had Czechoslovakian, like I say, and Petra Kvitova defeating Eugenie Bouchard by a score of 6-3, 6-0 on the women's side, and Novak Djokovic defeating Roger Federer on the men's side to take his second Wimbledon title. Talking a little bit about World Cup, like I said, unfortunately, the United States of America played their first round. They made it to the final 16, played their first round, and ended up getting put out the first match of the final 16, but it wasn't because of lack of effort. I'll put it that way. The United States come out there ready to play, and they did. It was one of those real contested matches. Don't know if you guys watched it or not, but it was one of those very competitive matches, and thanks to our goalie, he made it competitive. He was saving just about everything, but unfortunately couldn't save the winning goal as the United States falls at the World Cup, unfortunately. Talking about college football again, the countdown is on here at Sports Talk Mania. I've actually got the clock up on the computer. 52 days, 1 hour, 49 minutes, and 8 seconds until kickoff 2014 college football. Looking at the date of August the 28th to be the kickoff, And most teams is going to start on the 30th. However, of course, you've always got that one or two games that gets kicked off a day or two before most other ones get kicked off. And we're looking forward to that date, as just about all of us here at Mustangs TV, and especially all of us at Sports Talk Mania, big college football fans, look forward to that coming down the road. Again, 52 days away, hours and minutes as well. Talking about the SEC, man, I'm telling you what, can't wait for those 52 days to get by just so we can get into college football, the SEC football. And again, we've been trying to get the first week we got one team on, and that was the University of Alabama. I'm trying to do these in alphabetical order. That way nobody says I'm paying any kind of, more attention to one team than the other. We're doing this alphabetically. However, the first week I wasn't prepared to give two teams. I only gave one. Since then, we're going to be prepared to give two teams for the remainder of our predictions go. And then the final one, of course, we're going to have the last team, which will be Vanderbilt. Being as far as alphabetical order, we're going to get on them last, and there'll be a sole team on one show as well at the end. Let's talk a little bit about the Florida Gators. Florida Gators coming off a kind of a very upsetting season for the Florida Gator fans. Coming off a 4-8 record from last season, and these Florida fans, because the University of Tennessee fans and the Florida fans, they know that the rivalry now, since the SEC is split and went into an East and a West division, now most of the big rivalry games, yes, Tennessee and Alabama is still a rivalry game, of course. Third Saturday in October usually is when that game is played, and every now and then they might move it here or there, but for the most part, third Saturday in October is usually Alabama and Tennessee. Always been a heated rivalry. Well, since they went to the East and West, it's more of a Florida and Tennessee now in the East. Of course, Tennessee falling pretty much to the wayside here lately, and it's been being Georgia and South Carolina and teams like that over in the East being the ones that's up, and Tennessee honestly has not been a rivalry game to anyone in the past few years, since I'm going to say the last couple of years of Philip Fulmer's reign as head coach all the way till now. And we're going to see if Butch can't get that turned around. Butch Jones at the University of Tennessee now heading the pack. Back on the Florida Gators, though. Again, 4-8 last season. Very upsetting season for Florida Gator fans. I know a few Florida Gator fans that listen to our show each and every Monday. Look forward to hearing your comments about what I'm going to give you today as predictions. I'm going to predict you're going to do just a little bit better this year. And not a whole lot better, but yeah, we're going to say you're going to have a winning record. Kind of going through their schedule. They've got a pretty weak schedule right off the bat. They've got their first three games is pretty weak, and then following that they get into a little bit of a streak here where they're going to have several good games coming up. Florida Gators start out the season hosting Idaho. That's going to be pretty much let's just get this one over with, keep people healthy, and go to the next one. Florida Gators win against Idaho. Second game on their schedule is going to be Eastern Michigan. That's going to be a little bit tougher game than Idaho. Not much, though. I believe Florida is going to come away with that one pretty easy as well. Then they got Kentucky. Well, you know what? What are we going to say about Kentucky? Kentucky's Kentucky. Even though they've got a new football coach up at the University of Kentucky, we still don't really know how long it's going to take. I mean, as far as if any one of you Tennessee fans out there, you're going to know what I'm saying with this. When you get a coach in there, you've got to wait at least 2 or 3 years to usually find out what they're going to do. I mean, look at even the University of Alabama with Nick Saban. He come in his first year, and they weren't that good right off the bat. Now, they did get good quicker than most teams will. But, the second year, yes, they went on and done good things, talking about the University of Alabama. Will Kentucky do that? I'm not one that's convinced of that, just because I know what University of Kentucky football team usually puts on the field, and they've got some good athletes. I mean, goodness, if you make a college football team, you're a good athlete, especially in the SEC. But being in the SEC, you've got to be that much better than everyone else. And unfortunately, I do not believe that Kentucky Wildcats is going to be that. Therefore, I think Florida Gators is going to take that win over Kentucky pretty handily as well. That puts them at 3-0 going into the week against Alabama. They travel to Alabama, and that's going to be their first loss of the season. Sorry, Florida Gator fans, but that's the way I'm looking at it. Then they travel to Tennessee. They travel into Neyland Stadium. And yes, Tennessee fans, I know you won't hear me say this a lot, but I truly believe that the Florida Gators will take Tennessee this year. I hope I'm wrong about that one. However, as the way I'm seeing it now and what's going on, it's looking like the Florida Gators take it at Tennessee. However, being at Neyland Stadium, I did have to give Tennessee a real hard thought on that one, but in the end, just comparisons of the teams and what's going up against what, I had to give that one to the Florida Gators. Then they host the Louisiana State University Tigers, which is LSU. They host LSU. That's another loss on the Florida Gators schedule. Then they host Missouri. I don't believe Missouri is going to surprise any teams this year. They did last year, surprised a few teams, and actually went on and done real well in the SEC. I don't see that this year. I think Missouri is going to be figured out as they got figured out closer to the end of the season last year by a lot of teams. I think Florida goes and takes that one at home. Then they host Georgia. That's one of those games that pretty much a toss-up this year. I don't see Georgia having the best team. I don't see Georgia, having a lot more than what Florida does. I think football fans in general is going to enjoy that ball game. I think it's going to be a real close ball game. However, I do feel that the Florida Gators will lose to the Georgia Bulldogs on that particular Saturday. Then they travel to Vandy. Then we're talking about the Florida Gators still. Travel to Vanderbilt. Travel to Nashville, Tennessee, take on the Vanderbilt Commodores. Even though Vandy was one of those teams last year that was making their way through the SEC, pretty good for a Vanderbilt team, they've got a new coach coming in this season. Is Coach Mason going to be able to take the Vanderbilt Commodores to as high level as what Coach James Franklin did? I don't think so, but I think they're going to stay a pretty good team. They still got some great athletes up at Vanderbilt. So I think it's going to be a little closer than what people expect. However, I figure Florida Gators take that one at Nashville against the Vanderbilt Commodores. Then they're going to host South Carolina. That's going to be another good game on the college football season. It's the Florida Gators versus South Carolina Gamecocks. I believe the South Carolina Gamecocks going to take that one. That's another loss we're putting on the Florida Gators side. Then they've got a pretty easy game against Eastern Kentucky. Eastern Kentucky, you kind of go back up to the Eastern Michigan. They may give them a little trouble in the first quarter, but I believe depth will fall out there for the SEC as well. Florida Gators win that one. And then they travel to Florida State to end the final regular season game. And at Florida State, ladies and gentlemen, I'm just going to be honest with you. I look at Florida State to take it all again this season as they're not losing a whole lot. Just about everybody's coming back to the Florida State Seminoles that were at Florida State last year. Looks like another loss for the Florida Gators against their home state rivalry in Florida State. All in all said, that's going to end them up with a 7-5 record. That's better than their 4-8 last season. Again, these are just my predictions. I enjoy doing this. That's the reason I make these predictions. I'm sure I'm going to be wrong on some of them. Hey, if I'm not, we're going to get real big, real quick on Sports Talk Mania. All right, let's look on over. That's the Florida side of it. Let's look over at Georgia. Phone lines are open, ladies and gentlemen. If you want to comment on something I've said or if we want to talk about any other sports, hey, give me a call. Phone lines are open at 931-623-6090. Want to take a little break real quick, and we'll get back on Sports Talk Mania right after this.
Yo, this is Big Fred. Tune in Thursday night. Big Fred Show. You never know what we're going to talk about. Never know where we're going to be. We'll be everywhere because that's where we like to be, is everywhere. Tune in Thursday night, 7 o'clock. The Big Fred Show. Also, check out Lee Haygood's show, Sports Talk Mania. He's an encyclopedia, and if he don't know it, it ain't true. So there you go, y'all. Big Fred Show, Sports Talk Mania. Tune in.
The Tennessee National Raceway, where dirt track racing is at its best. That's the Tennessee National Raceway, 316 Racetrack Road, Hohenwald, Tennessee. Come out each and every Saturday night during racing season, ladies and gentlemen, and see some of the best dirt track racing anywhere around this area. That's the Tennessee National Raceway, 316 Racetrack Road, Hohenwald, Tennessee. Back here live, Sports Talk Mania. Look forward to talking to you. Give us a call. Phone lines are open at 931-623-6090. Talking about the Tennessee National Raceway. Tennessee National Raceway took a weekend off this past July the 5th, just so families could spend time with families and not have to worry about racing or the racetrack. You know, a lot of racers gripe and complain about that. However, the Tennessee National Raceway, being the fast action family attraction that they are, want families to spend some time with each other, and they thought July 4th holiday was a good weekend just to take a weekend off so they could spend time with their families and all other folks could spend time with theirs as well. They will be returning this Saturday night, though, at the Tennessee National Raceway. Saturday night, July the 12th. They're going to have a regular night of racing action going on. Also included going to be EMOD Summer Shootout Race Number 2. These summer shootouts that Tennessee National have are four race weekends long. And what they do is they've got 3 of the lower tier racing on their schedule, which is the EMODs, the Modified Street, and the mini stock. And what it is an opportunity for these guys that's in the middle to lower tier of the racing to have those special events to where they can race for a little bit more money, a little bit more cash, and a lot better prizes. And they've got a summer shootout champion that they'll crown at the end of 4 races long. And the way they do it is they kind of spread it out. They'll do a race number 1 of all of the 3 classes, and then they'll come back and they'll do race number 2 each Saturday night. It'll be a different class, and then 3 and 4 and so on and so forth until they crown the champion at the end of 4 races for that summer shootout. And that's going on at Tennessee National Raceway, racing back there live this Saturday night, July the 12th. Gates open at 5 o'clock. Pit entrance opens at 3 o'clock. Racing sometime around 7 is when it starts. Drivers meeting at 6:30. So come on out if you'd like to enjoy a night of racing at the Tennessee National Raceway. I'm sure those folks up there at the Tennessee National Raceway would love to see you. They invite you each and every Saturday night during racing season. Back to Sports Talk Mania now. Let's talk some more sports. Let's talk SEC football. We just gave you the Florida Gators predictions for 2014, and that's going to be a 7-5 record. Now let's get on over here to the Georgia Bulldogs. And with Aaron Murray gone, one of the quarterbacks that's been with them, and if I ain't mistaken, it seems like he played for them for about 14 years. I know he didn't, but that's about what it feels like. Every time you turned it on and watched the Georgia Bulldogs play, it seemed like Aaron Murray was up under the center calling the snaps. And with that being said, Aaron Murray is no longer at the University of Georgia, finally graduating and getting on out of there. I know the young man didn't spend no more time than he had to there. However, like I say, it just felt like every time, if he was a college football fan, like we are here at Sports Talk Mania, that it just seemed like he stayed there forever. And they've also got a new defensive coordinator at Georgia, and that'd be Coach Jeremy Pruitt coming in as a new D coordinator. And we're going to see, this was one of those tough ones. When I went to looking at the Georgia Bulldog record, it was one of the tougher ones for me to actually pick out, just because I'm not sure about this new defensive coordinator. I'm not sure how he's going to take on the SEC. And that, as a college football fan, especially an SEC fan, then it doesn't matter which team you're pulling for. Anytime you change coordinators, whether it be the offensive coordinator or defensive coordinator, it kind of puts one of those things. Okay, how fast is someone going to figure it out? How fast is someone going to be able to counter something that either of the coordinators throw at them? Well, that's one of those deals where this year it's just one of those tough things to actually sit and predict. However, as always, I'm going to try my best, and I'm going to give you my honest opinion of what I think is going to happen. Georgia's going to start out against Clemson, as they usually do. I feel like that's going to be a game that Georgia's going to take, give them the win against Clemson as they host Clemson. I think if they went to Clemson, I may looked at that one a little different, but I feel like Georgia playing at home against Clemson, I think they're going to take that one in game number 1. They're nothing like Florida Gators. Florida Gators, like I say, had their first 3 games, pretty easy ball games. Not for Georgia. Their second game, they're going to get into the heart of their SEC East matchups. They go to South Carolina to take on the old ball coach himself, Steve Spurrier, and the South Carolina Gamecocks. I'm looking at that one as being a loss for the Georgia Bulldogs. I believe South Carolina, early part of the season, Steve Spurrier's real good. And then he kind of gets a little bit lax, I think, personally. I think he gets a little lax on his coaching, and he starts trying to let his son coach and the rest of his coaching staff coach instead of him. But I'm looking at the first part of the season. I'm looking at Steve Spurrier to take that one against the Georgia Bulldogs. Now for the next game against Georgia. So that makes them 1-1 going into game number 3. They host Troy. Okay, Troy's another one of those teams about like an Idaho. I think that's going to be an easy game for the Georgia Bulldogs. They take that one at Georgia against Troy. That makes them 2-1. Then they host Tennessee. This one's one, and most people's going to say, well, you're a Tennessee fan. Guess what? I'm predicting Tennessee to win this one, Georgia to lose this one against Tennessee. I know they're playing between the hedges down in Georgia, but I'm still looking at the University of Tennessee Volunteers to go into Georgia, take that one from the University of Georgia Bulldogs. That's going to put them at 2-2 in their first 4 ball games. SEC schools, they don't like 2-2. They want to be 4-0, 3-1 at worst. Then they take on Vanderbilt. The University of Vanderbilt comes rolling in between the hedges as well to take on the Georgia Bulldogs. I'm going to give the Georgia Bulldogs the win in that one. Then we got Missouri on the schedule. They travel to Missouri, take on Missouri. At Missouri, I'm giving them a loss there, just because it's at Missouri. I know I said when I was going over Florida Gators, don't feel like Missouri is going to be that surprise team. However, I do believe that Missouri is going to take that one against the Georgia Bulldogs. Then they travel to Arkansas to take on the Arkansas Razorbacks. Such turmoil going on around Arkansas, even to this day. They've still not got everything put in place yet. I think that's going to be a win for the Georgia Bulldogs. Then they got Florida. They take on Florida. They host Florida between the hedges there at Georgia. I'm giving them the win against the Florida Gators. As I said against when I was saying the Florida predictions, I gave Florida the loss. I'm giving Georgia the win on this one. Then they travel to Kentucky to take on the Kentucky Wildcats. I'm giving them the win at Kentucky as well, considering I think they've got a pretty good coaching staff in place in Kentucky now. But again, that program in football has just been so weak for the last few years that they're going to take a long time to build that program up. They've always had one of the most outstanding basketball teams in the nation, but they've not had a football team in a long time at the University of Kentucky. They've got the athletes there. They don't have the depth yet, and I think this new coaching staff's going to get the depth in there, but you got to give him 2 or 3, 4 years maybe to start getting his own folks in there, figuring out what he's going to do. So I'm giving a win to Georgia Bulldogs against Kentucky on that one. Then they host Auburn. And like I told you in the Auburn, I'm predicting Auburn to take that one. Georgia loses that one against Auburn at home. Then they got somewhat of a rollover game, more or less, the Charleston Southern. And I had to actually do a little research on that team. Had never heard of Charleston Southern. However, I have now done a little research on them. It doesn't matter. Georgia's going to take the win against the Charleston Southern. Then we got Georgia Tech, their last ball game. Always Georgia Tech, last ball game of the season for both those squads. And I'm giving them the win over Georgia Tech. Just don't believe the Bees, the Yellow Jackets, whatever you want to call Georgia Tech. Don't believe they're going to hold up to the Georgia Bulldogs, especially at the end of the season. If you go back and count all the wins and losses up, Georgia, 8-4 record going into any kind of bowl game opportunities for the Georgia Bulldogs. So our two teams today were the Florida Gators and the Georgia Bulldogs. Again, if you're just tuning in, I've seen where a few more people's picked up. Florida Gators, I've predicted to have a 7-5 record in 2014. The Georgia Bulldogs, one better at an 8-4 record. Again, phone lines are open if you'd like to discuss either one of these or something that I've said during the predictions of these two. You can give us a call at 931-623-6090. Be glad to take your call. Look forward to taking your call. We appreciate each and every caller that we have each and every Monday. We're here from the hours of 6 to 7 p.m. on Mondays. That's Central Standard Time for any of those of you listening across the waters. Give us a call, 931-623-6090. Love to talk to you anything about sports. All you local folks that tunes in, we'll talk anything about Loretta Mustangs, sports, Lawrence County High School Wildcat sports. Those Summertown Eagles, got some good friends up in Summertown as well. We're going to talk a little Summertown Eagle sports as well. Give us a call at 931-623-6090. Know I got some friends on here that love to talk a little wrestling. Hey, to me, that's as much of a sport as anything. What an athlete you have to be a professional wrestler. We'll talk wrestling. We'll talk anything here on Sports Talk Mania. If it's related to sports, we've even talked some politics on here every now and then. Don't want to get into a lot of that. We're going to leave that to the Big Fred show on Thursday nights. But, hey, if you got something that's real important, we'll still talk about it. We've got time. We've got about 27 more minutes left to go in the night show, so you can give us a call. Until then, I want to take me a little breather. We're going to get some of these great promotionals on from the Big Fred Show and some of these sponsors we have. We appreciate our sponsors. We appreciate Big Fred. We thank Mustangs TV for allowing us to do this. And again, we always thank the veterans for everything we're able to do. We'll be right back.
Hey, y'all. Thank y'all for listening to my brother Lee on Sports Talk Mania with Lee Haygood. Be sure to also tune in on Thursday nights at 7 o'clock. For the Big Fred Show. Me and Lee and Mustangs TV, we the Total Bro Network, baby. Tune in and listen to us.
The Tennessee National Raceway, where dirt track racing is at its best. That's the Tennessee National Raceway, 316 Racetrack Road, Hohenwald, Tennessee. Come out each and every Saturday night during racing season, ladies and gentlemen, and see some of the best dirt track racing anywhere around this area. That's the Tennessee National Raceway, 316 Racetrack Road, Hohenwald, Tennessee. Welcome back to Sports Talk Mania, everyone. Again, college football countdown is going on. We've got 52 days, 1 hour, 25 minutes, and 40 seconds and counting down to game number 1 of the 2014 college football season. I know a lot of folks are getting a little bit antsy about that as more talk shows and everything that I'm seeing is counting those down as well. Look forward to this upcoming season. Can anyone knock off the defending champion, the Florida State Seminoles, after taking SEC out of it? SEC controlled the national championship for years and years. And then Florida State knocks off Auburn last year in the national championship to take take it for 2013. Let's see what they can do when they come back in 2014. When you got players coming back on your team for Florida State like Jameis Winston, I'm telling you that you're going to have a lot to think about and a lot of ways to defend it. That's kind of like a Cam Newton back in the Auburn days. It was just so hard to defend that one player. I know it takes a team, and I know he couldn't have done it without his teammates around him. However, when you're that good of an athlete and you're that good of a football player and you're out there and you've got any kind of talent around you, and we know if you're in a D1 school, you've got talent. So that's one of those things that just kind of goes without saying that the Florida State Seminoles are coming back this year. And to me, I think they're going to be bigger and better than ever. I mean, you've got a lot of experience coming back for Florida State, and I look for them to actually take it again. I hope I'm wrong. I'd love to see the SEC jump back in there. And it doesn't matter if it's one of these teams that I'm not predicting to do that well, even if they come in and do something, because the year that the Auburn Tigers won it with Cam Newton at quarterback, no one expected them to win the national championship that year. But when you get such a good athlete and a good player on your team like that, the one good athlete's going to carry the team. They're not going to be the team. They're not going to make the team. But however, when you've got a good athlete such as Jameis Winston, you can carry the team pretty much. And that's what happened with the Auburn Tigers back when Cam Newton carried them, and now Jameis Winston come in last year and carried the Florida Gators. Just being a freshman, that was something, just extravagant there, because you can't get much better than that. However, we're going to see, and we're going to hope that one of our SEC schools can knock off the Florida State University to take the national championship and bring it back to the SEC, where we would just love to have it back at. And it, like I say, I'm an SEC fan, even if it's the University of Alabama. As bad as I dislike the University of Alabama, hey, if they take it for the SEC, I'm okay with that. Most of the time, I'm still rooting against them. However, at the end of the day, I'm glad that they took the championship and brought it back to the SEC as well. No, I got some Bama fans out there that would like to dispute me on that. You can give us a call at 931-623-6090. Love to hear from you this evening. I'd like for someone else to do some talking. I've about talked out. So give me a call and let's discuss something. I'll be glad to discuss something with anyone sports related. If you want to talk about wrestling, you want to talk about football, baseball. Talking about baseball, we'll get into a little bit of baseball as well with the All-Star game or the All-Star break coming up. If I ain't mistaken, these Major League Baseball players getting like a 4-day break this year coming into the All-Star game. And that's a little bit more. It's usually 3 days if I'm not mistaken. So it kind of surprised me when I seen that on their schedule coming up and them having 4 days off. Of course, you got the big home run derby as well coming up before that, and they make the All-Star break. They make it interesting in Major League Baseball. So we'll see what goes on this year. I've been seeing where some injuries is already popping up, and a few players are stepping out of the Major League All-Star game this year already. And that's one thing that always creeps up, and that goes with the question. The question is, do you allow your All-Stars? I mean, they're All-Stars for a reason, folks. They made the All-Star teams because they're that much better at their position most of the time. There's a few times I'll question some of the actual players that make it on the All-Star team for some certain reasons. And, I withhold those reasons. But, you always look back and think that so-and-so really deserved to be on there more than this player does. And I'm an Atlanta Braves fan, and I'm a Cincinnati Reds fan. Those are the two teams that I've grew up liking. Those are the two teams that I'm going to, stand behind the players because I know the players that, by name, usually by position, by name. And I know a few of my friends out there that's the same way as well. They kind of know a team particularly, and that's the team that they pay attention to and watch. And with the All-Star break coming up, that's just one of those things that you figure out that's like, okay, did this person really deserve to make it? Well, you know what? They're in the Major League Baseball. Even if you don't feel they deserve, they're probably still good enough to do that. So, that's just one thing that's on my mind about the All-Star game. Again, All-Star game coming up. I believe it starts this coming weekend. I was trying to pull it up real fast to see, and I apologize that I don't have it. I can't remember when it starts, but I do know that they're playing through this week and this weekend, and I think that's when they actually take off and take their break sometime around Sunday or Monday is when the players actually get off the field. So, again, Major League Baseball, the All-Star break coming up. You think it's at the middle of the season? No. They've actually went further into the season this year than I think, personally, I think they ever have. I haven't checked on that and seen, but I do believe that it's a little bit later this year than it usually is. By the time the All-Star break gets here, they're going to play close. Baseball season consists of 162 ball games. And by the time the All-Star break gets here, I believe they're going to be up somewhere around the 100 ball game range. As we're getting some things pulled up here, and we're seeing that they're even talking about this. This is coming from Yahoo Sports, the Mike Oz Big League show here. They call him the Big League Stew, I'm sorry. And looking at that, they're showing some players that's getting snubbed from the All-Star break. And that's what I was talking about a little bit earlier. And you think some of these players should have been Jose Altuve. He's one of the better players in Major League Baseball. And Michael Brantley of the Cleveland Indians. And when you snub some of these players like the names I just mentioned, and I was talking about being a big Cincinnati Reds fan, and when you snub a player like Devin Mesoraco, I'm telling you what, you're snubbing some big-name players in baseball, especially for the season. And that's what the All-Star game is for. It's intended for the people that's played that well this part of the season or up to the All-Star break. And when you start snubbing some of these players, Ian Kinsler, I'm seeing him on here, and Brian Dozier, he's on here as well, and that's two more names that's like, well, what are these people thinking? However, they say that most of the All-Star are voted on by the fans. Well, in my eyes, I think that's wrong in a way, because how many New York Yankee fans do you have out there versus how many Houston Astro fans you have out there? I think it's a little swayed personally in that regard. I've never really agreed with this. Don't get me wrong, I think the fans need to do the voting. However, I think it needs to be taken with a little bit, a different aspect on it, just simply because of like I just said, you've got New York Yankee fans all around the United States of America and around the world as well. And when you've got that, you don't have, you've got a lot of Houston Astro fans, and I'm just bringing them as an example. Minnesota Twins, you got a lot of Minnesota Twin fans out there as well. But you don't have nowhere near the Minnesota Twin and the Houston Astro fans you have New York Yankees. Well, guess what? That kind of gives a leg up on any of the New York Yankee players. And that's one reason that I think this all-star balloting, I think it's just a little off-key. I wish the Major League Baseball would come up with a little bit different system on this. Again, I think the fans need to vote for the all-stars. I truly believe that. Because, we're the ones that's sitting out there and paying these big, huge ticket prices. And then when we go to the ball games, paying these unreal prices for when you go to buy a hot dog and a cold drink and all that. And it's getting that way in just about any sport. You go to buy a hamburger and a hot dog and a couple of cold drinks to go with those two things, and you've done spent $20. Well, that's the thing about going to these. That's the reason these guys make, $20 million a year. Because we can, the ones that do go can afford to pay that $20 for that hamburger and hot dog and a cold drink. So with that being said, I truly believe that the fans should hold all this voting more or less in their back pocket. And I just don't believe it's right the way they have to do it. I think a few other stipulations should be thrown in there as well. Again, folks, phone lines are open here at Sports Talk Mania, 931-623-6090. We know you out there. We know you tuned in. Give us a phone call. We'd love to discuss anything sports with you. You want to talk about something going on in Lawrence County? You want to talk about something going on in Tennessee? You want to talk about things going on in Alabama? around the United States, around the world, give us a call. We'll talk anything sports here on Sports Talk Mania. I look forward to getting you calls. We're going to take a little break. We've got about 15 minutes left. Again, phone lines are open. Give us a call. We'll get you called online, and we'll be ready to go here on Sports Talk Mania. We'll be right back.
Yo, this is Big Fred. Tune in Thursday night. Big Fred Show. You never know what we're going to talk about. Never know where we're going to be. We'll be everywhere, because that's where we like to be, is everywhere. Tune in Thursday night, 7 o'clock. The Big Fred Show. Also, check out Lee Haygood's show, Sports Talk Mania. He's an encyclopedia, and if he don't know it, it ain't true. So there you go, y'all. Big Fred Show, Sports Talk Mania. Tune in.
The Tennessee National Raceway, where dirt track racing is at its best. That's the Tennessee National Raceway, 316 Racetrack Road, Hohenwald, Tennessee. Come out each and every Saturday night during racing season, ladies and gentlemen, and see some of the best dirt track racing anywhere around this area. That's the Tennessee National Raceway, 316 Racetrack Road, Hohenwald, Tennessee. Back here live on Sports Talk Mania. Look forward to talking to you. Phone lines are open, 931-623-6090. And give us a call. And we'll see what's going on in the world of sports in your mind. And you've already heard a lot about what's going on in sports in my mind. Again, give us a call here. Sports Talk Mania. We'll look forward to talking to you. We've got about, looks like 13, 14 minutes remaining in the show. Look forward to talking to you. Give us a call, 931-623-6090. Talk a little bit about the NBA. I know the NBA is over with, finals over with, as the Spurs end up taking the championship in the NBA. And I'm going to tell you, this Miami deal that's going on with Chris Bosh and, of course, LeBron James and Dwayne Wade all opting out of their contracts for this coming season. Well, you know, at first I thought, well, this is just something so they can get a little bit more money in their pockets coming up. Well, what I'm seeing is that the big three, so-called, was just looking at getting more money. Well, now I'm beginning to wonder, because a lot of them are saying that they're going out to different spots. And I'm anxious to see where this goes, because, again, I thought at first that the big three was just wanting a little bit more money in their pockets coming in. And with that being said, that's where I was sitting. Well, now I'm starting to see where a lot of them's talking to different teams. Just got something from courtesy of ESPN where Chris Bosh is considering a Houston Rockets max offer. So, you know, we look forward to seeing what's going on there as well and what's going to happen there. We're going to see how that ends up. I may be completely wrong, but again, I could have swore that that's what these guys were doing. But the more I read about this, the more I pay attention to what's going on, I'm seeing a lot of different things happening there. So that's my opinion. What's your opinion? Phone line is open at 931-623-6090, and we'll be glad to talk to you about sports. Give us a call. Look forward to talking to you this Monday evening. Again, it's July the 7th, 2014. Hope everyone, those of you that's tuned in a little later, again, I hope everyone had a safe and happy 4th of July holiday weekend. Hope you guys that were lucky enough to get off on a little vacation, enjoyed yourself. Hope you got home safely. Again, we look forward to seeing you. We look forward to talking to you here on Sports Talk Mania. Glad to have you tuned in to Mustangs TV and Sports Talk Mania with Lee Haygood. Again, I am Lee Haygood. We'll talk sports. Give us a call, 931-623-6090. Look forward to hearing from you. And let's see what else we can find. Talking about basketball again. Keep reading about this, and it's very intriguing. So, and I'm sure a lot of you's heard it if you haven't paid attention to it. And we're going to figure out what's going on with the Donald Sterling case in NBA basketball. As that thing, it just keeps going on and on and on. And I kind of figured it would. And that's one thing that, we look forward to seeing how that one comes out, because I can't figure it out. It's one of those things that you think you've got it figured out, just like the Big Three in Miami. I thought I had that one figured out, but the more I read and the more I see things going on, maybe I didn't have that one figured out as well. And this Donald Sterling deal, he keeps trying to get a trial going, and the federal government keeps denying it. And I don't know where this is going to go. It's going to get interesting, I think, before it's all said and done. I don't think we've heard the last of Donald Sterling in the NBA. So we're going to check that. We're going to kind of keep our eye on that one here at Sports Talk Mania. Got a call coming in. Let's take it. Sports Talk Mania with Lee Haygood. This is Lee Haygood. Who we got on the other end?
Hey, this is Rob from Florence, Alabama.
Hey, Rob. How you doing this Monday evening?
Oh, doing fine.
Well, what you got on your mind about sports, buddy?
Well, first of all, I know I want to make a correction, actually, from the first time I called. You had asked me who my favorite wrestler was of all time, and I actually heard you wrong and told you Daniel Bryan or Bray Wyatt. And although I am a fan of them, they are not my favorite of all time. They're extremely talented wrestlers.
Absolutely.
But I'd have to say, for me, it would be The Rock or Triple H.
Well,
and,
I'm not going to disagree with you by any means. I mean, I know that's your choice, and I wouldn't disagree with those being two of the better wrestlers of all time as well. Rob, just we're talking about wrestling. A lot of people say, well, wrestling's not even a sport. But when you see these athletes out there doing what they're doing, that is a sport to me. And that's the reason, it is entertainment. And they'll tell you, that's the reason the WWF went from that to the WWE. Of course, I think there were some other matters in there. But the reason they went to WWE is because it's World Wrestling Entertainment. That's what they are, but that doesn't mean you don't have good athletes out there.
Right. I totally agree. I mean, the matches may be predetermined, and some say that because of that, it's definitely not a sport. But, I mean, you do have to be athletic, and your stamina has to be, very high to do what they do. So I completely agree. I believe it is a sport.
Well, we're talking about wrestling being a sport. I'm not sure how much you pay attention to, like a UFC, the Ultimate Fighting Championship, but did you see what went on this past weekend in the UFC?
Oh yeah, well I was watching the Rousey fight. That was pretty interesting. She knocked I forgot her name, but she knocked her out in like 16 seconds, I believe.
You're talking about Alexis Davis.
Yes. Mhm.
Yeah, she did. She knocked Alexis Davis out in 16 seconds. And you're talking about a tough woman. Now, I'm going to tell you, Rousey, she's not one that I would want to get in that octagon with.
Well, me neither. I would not want to be in the octagon with her. I mean, I would take her on a date or two, but not in the octagon. No.
Listen at you, Rob. Hey, back on wrestling, man. You seen this? What was it? They just had a pay-per-view last Sunday, Money in the Bank last Sunday. Not yesterday, Sunday. Sunday a week ago. They had that Money in the Bank. Had an actual caller call in last Monday and was wanting to talk a little bit about that. Have you had your opportunity to watch that, or did you watch that? And what did you think went down there, and how did you think they backed it up when they had the Monday Night Raw following that?
Well, to be honest with you, I did not watch the pay-per-view, although I did read about it. And I watched a little of Monday Night Raw. But you were talking about your college football predictions earlier,
Mm-hmm.
and I know that Money in the Bank was 2 weeks ago, but I was wanting to know what your predictions for the upcoming Battleground pay-per-view was.
Battleground pay-per-view. I'm going to tell you what, Rob, on predictions of wrestling, I've always, like I say, I am a wrestling fan myself. And again, it's mainly for the entertainment of it and the storylines that actually comes before and after, the pay-per-view events. Those things intrigue me, and the reason they do is because, like I say, I think these wrestlers are some of the best actual athletes around. Because when you get in this ring and you take these bumps and hits and falls like they do, and in wrestling they call them bumps when they hit the mat and whatever. When you're coming off the top of a rope or in a particular event that I'm recalling in my mind right now when Mick Foley come off the top of a cage and landed on an announcer's table. When you talk about things like that, Rob, you're talking about some athletes. And talking about your Battleground predictions, one of the things that I look at the Battleground is, who's going to be there at the Battleground? Who's going to have the championship? Is it going to be Cena? Is it going to be Bray Wyatt? Who's going to have it? So when you're talking about the predictions, I'm going to give you a prediction, but it'll probably be at a later time. I'm going to look into this because a lot of times I've got to see what's going on in the actual storyline of what's coming up. And most of the time you can usually tell who's going to win based off of what you're seeing as far as the storylines. With that being said, what would be your main event at Battleground?
Oh, let's see.
You tell me what you think your main event's going to be, and I'm going to tell you who I think is going to take it.
Well, I think I know that as far as the Divas go, I believe AJ Lee is going to keep it.
I will have to agree with you on that.
I think Cena will probably end up taking or retaining the title at Battleground. I'm not a huge Cena fan.
Well, let me ask you this. If I ain't mistaken, Battleground, and I may be mistaken about this because a lot of people keep up with wrestling a little bit more than I do. However, like I say, I enjoy it and I watch it. But if I ain't mistaken, have they not got like a fatal four-way coming up at Battleground?
They do. And like I said, I believe, I think Roman Reigns is in that fatal four-way. And like I said, I think Cena will take it, but I'm pushing for Roman Reigns.
I believe it's going to be Randy Orton, Roman Reigns, and Kane in that one, if I ain't mistaken, along with Cena.
Right.
And I'm going to tell you, my prediction, if that stands true, till Battleground gets here, I'm going to predict Roman Reigns is going to take it. I think it's going to come down between, I think Orton's going to probably be one of the first one out. I think I ain't going to say out. The first one kind of off to the side. And then it's going to come down to Kane messing up Cena, and I think Reigns is going to be out, and then I think Reigns is going to come back, and Kane's going to end up helping Reigns take the title from John Cena. As you know, this is what's funny about the WWE. They always kind of want somebody that the authority, the owners, or the whatever you want to call them, the officers of the WWE, they always want somebody that they don't like as a champion so they can beat them and kind of put their own step and their own stamp on what's going on. Am I wrong on that, or is that the way you see it as well?
No, I completely agree with you. I'm on the same page.
And with that being said, if I ain't mistaken, Battleground, it's sometime this month, but I can't remember exact date. And I'm sure some wrestling fans out there that's tuned in to us will let us know that, you know, in either today's program or next week's program. But what do you think is going to happen in wrestling in general, Rob? And I get a lot of people want to talk about the what's the one Dixie Carter's over TNA.
TNA.
I hear a lot of people want to talk about that. What's your feeling about TNA wrestling, considering we're talking about wrestling now?
I'm not a big fan of TNA. I used to follow it. One thing that really intrigued me was the six-sided ring. But once Hulk Hogan kind of came in there, and which they believe Hulk Hogan was going to change everything for him, which he kind of did in a way, but he took away the six-sided ring, which was pretty much the big reason I got into TNA. 'Cause it was different, and they had the X division and everything like that. Now it reminds me of WCW, which I did like WCW, but I don't know. I favor Raw more.
I understand.
WWE rather.
Well, WWE is one of the bigger ones out there, and Vince McMahon's pretty much bought up every other wrestling around except for your local wrestlings, which, by the way, all of you that's tuned in, I urge you to go. Even if you've got a hint at wanting to go to a wrestling match, go check out some of your local wrestlings, as these guys are out there just trying to, have fun and enjoy themselves and have a good time, and I'm sure Rob, being a wrestling fan, he would back me on that. Would you not, Rob?
Oh, yeah. Definitely go and check out a local wrestling show. It's definitely entertaining.
Well, and the independent wrestling is where a lot of these guys that you see in the WWE and what we talked about a little bit, the TNA, you had to start somewhere, and that's where a lot of these guys start. I know the WWE has a stepping stone called NXT that come up into their organization, but you know what? Even before they get to NXT, they got to start somewhere, and that's usually in these little independent wrestlings. And I guarantee you, ladies and gentlemen, if you go out and catch one of these, you're going to enjoy yourself, especially if you got some other wrestling fans there that's having a good time as well. And that's just one of those things. Rob, we appreciate you calling. That's the end of our show for this Monday, July the 7th, 2014. Look forward to tuning in, and actually look forward to you tuning in each and every Monday between the hours of 6 and 7 p.m. We'd love to talk to you. Give us a call next week. Drop us some lines on our Sports Talk Mania page on Facebook. We're going to get us actual email account set up so you can drop us some questions if you don't want to get on air to talk, but we'd much rather talk to you here on Sports Talk Mania. As for me this week, look forward to talking to you next week. Again, everyone stay safe. As for me, I'm Lee Haygood, and until next week, Godspeed.